My name's Dave Borowski. I'm the district PI chair. For now, I'll be ending my reign of terror along with Pat at the end of June. And we periodically have these we have these seminars. Periodically, sporadically, it all depends how you look at it. Greg was he was a speaker, one of our earlier ones. And he was really kind of a hit, and a lot of people asked him questions. A lot of people wanted him back. He was also Greg from the Middlesex Club. Greg and Daniel Kazmierski, Kaz, were the guys who ran the audio visual and the computer stuff at our conference, and it went over really well. I thought it was just a great thing. So they know a lot of stuff. And we always want to share stuff with people. And so with that, and he's an expert in a lot of things. I'll let him explain all his expertises because he's so modest. He'll do that. So without any further ado, I will introduce Greg Grichtmeier from the Rotary Club of Middlesex County. Greg, it's all yours, sir.
Well, thank you so much. The first thing I have to start with, I don't think you can escape. You're not really done. You're going to have to be, fully involved in all.
Fully involved. Oh, yeah, right. Of course.
Yeah. So you might not be driving around as much, but
no, I won't be driving around. That's for sure.
You'll still be championing all these things that you started or that you have passion about, right? So there you go.
Yeah. Well, good.
So I'm a geek by birth. I'll always tell people that I was a geek in high school. I was the, computer room guy and all that stuff. And then, it wasn't cool back then. My son's now 30, but, he went to school. Geeks were popular, like he was like a homecoming things, how did that happen? So, but I've had a very interesting career. I did retail management all the way through to being a senior person at IBM. Working government contracts, things like that. I used to build call centers, and so I have a strong aptitude towards applications, business process, and I think my hobby has always been, geeky things, gadgets and things like that. Maybe a little bit of programming here and there, but I've learned that it's so fluid these days that you don't need to learn programming anymore. It's all about application development, things like that. So when I'm not sure at what point, but I started acquiring gear, and so when the whole COVID thing started, I was our local community's Zoom guy. So I probably talked to I don't know 10 different churches and organizations about trying to get Zoom up and going and trying to figure out if it's Facebook and all of that. And so I feel like I'm a bit of a pioneer, and so I've got different pictures to show, but oddly I actually have, is it still on? I still have a camera on. So here I'm going to switch to a camera just so you can see a little of the chaos that's happening on my desk. So it's I may have just disconnected the cable, but I'm talking to you on a real microphone attached to a mixer over there. So I've got a Sony camera and then various computers around the perimeter here. So I've taken it to the next level. But my gear isn't overly expensive. I do have some things that we can talk about. I have some video switchers and things that are a little pricier, but that's nowadays you can buy hardware that'll actually get you I've got 8 camera feeds with graphics and picture to picture and split screen. I can do everything that the news can do when you watch the nightly news. So with a piece of hardware and a couple computers. And then there's not many people here. So I really want this to be more Q&A than anything else. I have a couple of things I want to talk about, and I want you to take down a couple notes or grab. The first one is, and I've probably signed up, I think about 4 different groups on this now, is a thing called TechSoup.org. Let me make sure I'm saying that right. Is it TechSoup.org?
I think it is.
TechSoup.org. Well, actually here, which camera is it? Can you guys see
Oh.
my desktop?
He's
No,
gone
wrong
now.
button.
I see darkness.
Yeah, I know. I hit the wrong button. Let me see
It's one of the dangers of, whoop.
There it is.
Oh, no.
Okay. So, and you guys, you could probably spotlight me or something like that, but
No, yeah, okay.
it's scrolling through a bunch of different things.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
The catalog that TechSoup has is quite diverse. They have a lot of different products, but they probably have the core things that we all tend to use. Microsoft Office, Adobe, QuickBooks, for many of us that have the 501c3s, even, some different types of hardware and things. But more importantly is they have, I believe it's a 40% discount on Zoom products. So you basically have to register. Does have to be a 501c3 nonprofit, and most of us have that within our club or a neighboring club. And then once you're in, they do have administration fees and things like that go along with it. But you get these negotiated discounts through these different major technology brands. The Microsoft one, they'll do, I believe it's 10 licenses of Office 365. You don't have to go through it, but the Google Suite one is pretty nice because you can sign up once you have it, it gives you a little token and you just plug that into the Google side. And it's very easy to go through the process of turning up a Google site. So you would have to have your own domain, but having the Google Suite allows us in our club to have a shared Google Drive, and it's all free. So I think I got a kick out of it. I think the license is for 10 years. I think it is. And so when they gave me the license, it was in days. It was so funny. So it listed out the number of days. But yeah, so TechSoup is one of the things I wanted to cover. And then I do have a website, and Dave, I was thinking maybe we could just let me show it first. Let me do
Sure.
that again. This is let me get this out of the way so it doesn't cause any issues. So the products that I've been using, I have been putting up on my website so that people can, I have a little couple sentences about it. There's links to the manufacturers, and then all the links, because I do this, I do like a bit of a occasional podcasty stuff and things like that. These are affiliate links, but I do try to include the manufacturer link so you can go there first and buy it or something like that through there. But it also, if you guys have a Smile, Amazon,
Yeah.
don't click on mine. Use your Smile, but you can search the name of the product and find it just fine. So, but yeah, I've been listing some of the things that I've been using in the that we use like at the conference thing, and I just started putting this together. So I'll send a link to it in chat or something here in a minute. So I do know that there's been a lot of discussion around how to do things on the cheap, if you will. And I think one of the things I just showed you was probably the first thing that I really, really like. And this is where I'm hoping we can talk about it a little bit, this is an iPhone 7, my old iPhone 7, and it's running an application that I believe I think it is $20. There are some free versions out there, but this one happens to be really nice. But it allows you to hook up a iPhone to a computer and make it into webcam. If you have a modern operating system for Apple, they've now activated this too. So now you can make your regular iPhone into a webcam. But I like keeping these old ones. And a lot of people and even in our club have not only maybe leftover iPhones or Android phones, but they also have some types of cameras. So
yeah, they do. I've seen this.
Yeah, and I know my Sony I like a lot because it's more for like a vlogging kind of a thing. But it has one feature that is the one thing you got to check if anybody grabs a camera to use, is that it has doesn't have the timer in it. Many of the older cameras, and this had to do with production industry and so on regulations, they limited the amount of time that a camera could send an HDMI signal out of the camera. So some of them are 40 minutes, some are 45, but you usually can Google it and find out if it's there.
Are you able to
There
use?
are some workarounds. Yes, I know. If that's what you're going to tell me.
No. I wanted to know, are you able to use those with a Windows laptop?
Yeah,
you know?
you can. And gosh, I didn't put that thing sitting here. Where did I put it? Oh, it was sitting right here too. No. Okay, so I have, the quality isn't good. But it's barely 1080, because it only goes to like
Okay.
1080 25 frames per second. So the it's better at a 720, which most of Zoom is 360 or even 720.
Right.
It's not that great. So and it's probably about $45, and I bought it on Amazon. It's a video capture card. So one side of it has an HDMI, the other side of it has USB, and you plug it in and it's able to transcode. It's using the processing power of your computer. So that is something to take note, is that whenever you're trying to crunch video, you're having to do it, with enough horsepower on the laptop or desktop. And most of the computers can handle one feed pretty good. It's when you start to add multiples that you start running into some issues. And there is a free application that's out there for Windows, OBS, that a lot of people use. It does work on Mac, but it's a little shaky.
But what is it, an open
better on
source thing
Windows.
or something? Is it
Yeah,
open source?
for specifically video switching.
Okay.
It's actually really handy for capturing a window. So if you have to project up onto a screen, a projector, or a television, the Zoom window, but you still have to do other things, like maybe you have to drive the slides, you could actually start OBS and have that off to the side to be able to shoot that out and create a feed for it. The hard part is, like I said, the ins and outs of getting in and out of the machine, because then you're likely using not standard, HDMI out of a laptop, but you're probably adding some sort of dongle and sending a second feed out of that laptop. So again, you're using a lot of processor power. 2 feeds, I would say you're probably okay on a modern laptop, but anything over that, that's why I've got hardware switchers. So my hardware switchers are a lot more reasonable, and they don't, and they're built in encoding and everything, so you don't have to. You can, none of that's done by the laptops. And then plus, I can actually stream directly out of my hardware and stuff too. So I think I saw a question come in. I didn't read it.
Yeah, there is. It's from Curtis Anderson from my club. Does anyone know if a club can get a Zoom account which can be shared with club members, so the same person does not have to start the meeting each time?
The answer is no.
No.
You're kind of stuck with that. Something that I think we're going to pursue in this upcoming year is that I think we all agree that Zoom is here to stay.
Absolutely.
So I am going to see about pushing at the district level, or even higher up on that maybe to the zone level if we can, about getting an enterprise account. If we could get an enterprise account,
that would be.
And it is possible that you could get more than one license at a reasonable, price. But it is per user. And then the other advantage would be is that if we were on an enterprise, then everybody in that enterprise technically could manage your meeting. So when it comes to having like a neighboring club, that you might partner with, their person could start your meeting with privileges. So there are some things, or you could have somebody, like me or like Dave at the district level that could help groups when somebody wasn't going to be on vacation or something like that. So that's a big advantage of having an enterprise account. But we'll have to work on that, I think, because the pricing of it is.
Greg, the district has a pro account, a pro
Correct.
Zoom account.
Correct.
So I'm logged in as district conference, district conference room or something.
Yeah. And
now I can share. Yeah, we can share
your login.
And we do, which is probably not the best idea.
Mm.
And it's going to cause some issues when Sheila had DTA, well, with the kind of account that we have, it limits it to 100 participants, and she was getting over 100 participants.
And I think I mentioned to you on that one. That's a great thing. If anybody else has run into that, you can call
Oh,
Zoom
yes.
right away, and they can expand your seat count if you can get through.
Right.
But they can expand your seat count because there is an added fee to potential, per event that you can do just to get it bumped up.
Yeah.
So they'll be more than happy to do that. I'm sure they're very accommodating. So far, everybody at Zoom has been wonderful. So, but yeah, you could bump it up. But yeah, the only other thing, like you said, sharing the account.
Which
in
is
some
not
cases,
the best thing
it's
anymore.
appropriate to create the account that's, like in our case, our club, I had the account. It doesn't belong to the club. But the idea was that we now have we have our own domain for the club, and we have a couple of, because we use the Google Suite. So I have a couple of email addresses, like an info at, and then we have like a communications at our ms rotary.org. And so if we were to ever create an account, we would probably create it with communications at msrotary.org and then share the account like you're saying. But the problem you run into is that when you need it. And sometimes people have reset the password on you and things like that.
Well, yeah, sure.
Oh, it's a challenge.
So Curtis, that's
I mean, because that's the issue we've had is,
right.
Yep.
I set up, it's the same meeting link for every meeting that we have so that people know what it is. But that means if I travel, I've got to be up at 4 o'clock or 1 o'clock in the morning to turn it on. And then I can actually make someone a co-host. Once I make them a co-host, I can drop off.
Yeah, or even just make them a host and hang up, right? You don't have to.
Right.
Well,
you do need to
but I got to get on in the first place, and if I'm driving or flying, that's not going to work too well.
That's right.
So,
well, that
Curtis,
would be the advantage of us getting an enterprise level account, is that then you could have, like I said, a neighboring club or somebody at the district or whatever you could have added as a potential co-host, and then you could be like, hey, Bob's going to start it or something like that. So yeah, that's where I'd like us to get. And so it's going to take some effort. And then the other thing, it'll probably take us a year just to cycle through to let people finish out their existing pro accounts, because you're not going to pay twice, right? So it'll take time to migrate people to it. And I don't know how many clubs are using somebody's business Zoom or something like that already.
What are we using, Curtis? Are we using your account?
We're using my account. We used to use Bob Paulson's, and then I turned over and I was using mine. We're using mine.
Okay.
But I would like to transfer it to someone else, but then we have to
absolutely.
And I guess we change the Zoom link for the meetings, because what I've learned is even though I tell people it's the same Zoom link every single time, and we post it in the calendar, and I still get calls on the day of, what's the Zoom link?
Right, it's the same one every week.
Yep.
I'm glad to hear other people have the same problem, because we're using Zoom accounts from some of our members and their business accounts, and that just doesn't make sense.
Yeah, so I think we'll just have to. I'm not going to say, I'm going to be careful how I say this. Dave's going to say I do have the authority, but I was going to say is I don't quite have the authority yet, or the agreed, path forward to go and negotiate this with Zoom, right? So we're going to have to go with this in little steps to get us there. But and part of it is we'll have to survey the clubs to find out who needs it and who doesn't, and when their current, if they've purchased it, when their current expiration date would be. So
Juanita, you have a question?
Go ahead.
Yeah, hi. So yeah, I'm vice president and co-host with Curtis. He makes me the co-host to handle people who are participating virtually. But my question is, have you looked at, for example, GoToMeeting or MS Teams, or is Zoom really the best?
Zoom is by far the best.
Okay.
Yeah, leaps and bounds. Because I debated going to Google Meet, and Teams. We've got Teams, so but the quality, the ease of use, the even just some of the simple things, like the fact that you can join pretty easily from almost any device. That's not always the case with everything. And then though they have been pushing out updates, they haven't pushed out an update, I think, in a long time that you're required to have it. So some features may not be there for some people because they haven't updated. Whereas in some of the other platforms, when they make an update, you have to get it. You can't participate otherwise. And that could really cause some headaches, if that happens at a bad time.
James has a question.
Yeah, so I guess my question is more, our club is doing hybrid right now, right? We're meeting in person primarily, but if you're traveling and whatnot, right, you can join by Zoom. So part of the problem we're having, I'm the youngest member in the club, and so I guess that's why I sort of got voluntold to be on this call. It's been reliant on the club president to bring their laptop, and so what we do is we take the microphone, plug it in, and put it against the in-house speaker system that the event space has, and it's kind of just jerry-rigged. So I guess my question is, do you know of an easy plug-and-play solution of a camera we can just have there that does the audio, that publishes to Zoom without a lot of finessing? Because a lot of the club is relying off of me, and I'm not at every meeting because of work and travel and whatnot. And so we need something that's very, how do I put it, older friendly. that's
hey, wait a minute. Hey, wait a minute.
Yeah, there you go.
I don't know.
Hey, that's a good question. That's an excellent question.
And we were actually talking about it before the meeting started. So I don't think there's an easy way to get around it just yet. There are some devices like the Owl and some things like that folks are starting to use that are that make this job a little simpler. But I think you're hitting upon a topic that everybody's just kind of shaking their heads at. It's a struggle. So one of the devices that I've yet to purchase, because I'm not a big Facebook fan, though I use it every day for my business and all the different groups here, we all use it, is the Portal. Now, we all think of the Portal as the one you see in the commercials where it's somebody sitting within the kitchen, but they now have a Portal TV device that you set on top of your TV. And where I thought that could be really handy would be is that if, and I've heard that the interface is intuitive, so I'm going to order one. I just haven't done it. The interface is fairly intuitive. And if that's the case, that would be a great audience shot, is that you could put that up where the projector goes, or if you've got a TV in the room or something like that, you could have that one device, be projecting out and picking up, room audio, because it's designed to pick up a living room. Now, will it pick up a large space? Probably not, but it'll at least pick up the living, the immediate area. And then a second person can still join a Zoom. So that second person ends up being like, if you're not there, I keep saying the same thing over and over again. Actually, I left it over there. Is let them use an iPhone or let them use a iPad or something like that, and that's enough to be able to, be able to see the speaker, things like that. Now, audio and lighting actually come before video. If there's no audio, people will leave. They will not hang around. And so you'll probably see me below I was going to say, if I could get my camera angle up, I'm wearing, so it would remind me, one of these Rode Go devices. This is a transmitter, and then it has a corresponding receiver. And the Rode Go 2 actually comes with two transmitters, and they both go to one receiver. And on the receiver, it really just has two. I'm going to try to hold my hand up so you can see it. It has two ports. It has a USB-C and also like a headphone jack. And the idea on that is that the USB-C can plug directly into a computer. It can plug in with a dongle into an iPhone, iPad, Android device. The little headphone jack can plug, it's designed for a camera. So you'd actually use a cable to go from here to your camera to be able to get audio in. And then the transmitters, they can they have a microphone. Actually, I'll try to do the same thing. It's got a microphone and a mic port on it.
Mhm.
So back to the audio system, you said you're putting a microphone next to. If it has any type of output that can be, they call it TRS or TRRS. If it can have any output that has a line out that you could plug it directly into one of these transmitters. If you had line of sight between these two devices, you could actually take audio directly off their audio board and put it into this device. But we use it. And of course, I keep thinking I should have all the stuff prepped. There's a little $30 piece of plastic with a foam thing on it, and it slides in it because it has a little cold shoe on the back. It slides in it. We use these as little handheld microphones.
Yeah.
So, and they can be set up. The two transmitters can be set up as mono, so you get the same audio blended together, or they can actually be set up left right. So if you're ever doing an interview or something like that, you could actually have it left right channel. And I'm hoping folks are going to get there. I mean, we're all focused on meetings and speakers,
Right.
but there's going to come a time when we have to start creating, little shorts or something, or you're interviewing people for, let's say I'm looking at your photo, your backdrop, you're doing the raffle for the car and you want to get it out with a local YouTube channel with somebody or whatever it might be. This kind of device would be great, because now you could actually run the interview with a regular camera, record it, goes right in, and having good audio is probably it's the number one thing. Without audio,
Absolutely.
everybody leaves.
True.
They don't have to have video, but they have to be able to hear you. The second thing might be lighting. And lighting is lighting's a challenge in some of the places. I was hearing, like, some of the groups meet in restaurants, which typically are dark.
Right.
Some groups meet at like Moose Lodge and stuff like that. Again,
Dark.
Maybe they were light at one point, but they're not anymore because they haven't updated to LEDs and things like that. And that's where you have to start augmenting it with, things like, little, this is a camera light that you never want to use something this small, but actually it might be set kind of, yep, it's set pretty bright. There we go.
That's pretty scary, Greg.
That's pretty scary. So we were using it
It's
to
like
take out the
Halloween.
stitches in the dog.
Yeah.
So, but this one has, and I'll just do this, and it actually has color temperature too, so which you'll probably see it's starting to turn kind of orange, yellow. So, I mean, there's things like that you have to start working on. It could be as simple as a torchère lamp or a desk lamp or something like that gets put up near the speaker so that you can illuminate them and get them, be able to pick them up on camera. Also, you'll notice that sometimes the cameras might not be able to do their autofocus because of lighting.
True.
So if the person blends in a lot with the background,
Right.
And there's obviously some ethnic skin tones, like you're probably not picking it up too much, but those of you that saw me at the conference, I've got dark skin. So, after I'm cutting the grass here in the next 2 months, I'll be, the cameras will have a hard time with my skin tone. So, it is something to consider. So, in a roundabout way, I answered a bunch of questions that I was anticipating with telling you that it's not so easy. Yes, somebody still has to show up with a laptop, but maybe you could get by with some alternate devices. And we don't always have to have just one person logged in. We could have something like Facebook Portal TV hooked up that captures a room shot, and then a separate person in the same room hooked up with an iPhone or an iPad. You just got to manage. Someone has to mute. You can't mute and have speaker going on both devices.
So is the Facebook Portal TV, is that a Facebook product?
Yes.
How much is it? I mean, just
About $100.
Okay.
Yeah.
You have one? Oh, no, you
I'll get one at some point.
no, okay, I'm just curious. No.
I haven't gotten one yet. Facebook Portal. And I don't have it on my product thing yet because I don't like the idea of
If you can
putting something up that I
enter
don't have yet.
if you can enter that website maybe in the chat.
Oh my gosh, it's this huge URL though.
Oh, is it really?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Click on it. You know why? It probably has, I bet you it's got all my tracking information in it. I'm just
Oh, there-
scanning it right now. have my
Okay.
zip code and my GPS and all that.
Yeah, how about your social security number?
My
Yeah,
social security
and your
number.
PIN number
exactly.
for your bank. That'd be perfect.
Exactly. So let me know. You should be able to see it on here. So all it is just a, a camera that mounts to the top of a TV.
Okay.
They're showing it at
I see.
149.
Oh,
I think
yeah.
I've seen it cheaper than that though. Like
Right.
here, you can see it sitting on top of the TV.
Yeah.
Right here. Yeah. So we'll see how it goes. I think it's a. Oh, I'm going to do this first. I think it's an opportunity. Again, if the interface is simple to log in, namely for many of us, we've all created the reoccurring whenever meetings. So it's the same meeting ID that we use week over week. So if that's the case, maybe we can store it in there, because I think that's what I heard, is that you can store the Zoom link or the Zoom meeting number. If that's the case, that would be really great, because then anybody could start it. Doesn't help you with a presenter though, if it's facing the room, but it does help you with that second shot of the audience, or that people are talking, or in our case, we start it and then we eat breakfast. So it's always hard to tell when, we're finishing up with breakfast to start our speaker.
Great.
So other questions? James had to jump for.
Yeah, he had to leave.
I know everybody's got stuff scheduled tonight. I had 2 people tell me they couldn't come, and you said you had somebody also. Maybe
Yeah, I had a couple of people say it, but they wanted to know if it was going to be
recorded.
into this.
All right. What other
Yes,
questions?
I
do you
have a question. I have a question. This is Waverly with the Lake Ridge Rotary. And I was just talking with one of our members this morning about when I take over starting July, we have a hybrid meeting, and occasionally the speakers are doing PowerPoint presentations. And I am an Apple or MacBook user, and I was talking about using my computer. He didn't recommend that because not everybody is Apple savvy with their computers and some of the gadgets. So he suggested I probably look at just a regular computer to hook up. So I would like your information on that, or your suggestions.
Well, Dave knows this.
Yes.
That there's only one answer for me. I will never recommend a Windows machine. There is nothing you can't do on a Mac, and in most cases, you can do it better on a Mac. So,
if I can jump in, our club, I use a PC. Juanita has a Mac, and she said to use the Mac up there, and you just have to get the proper adapter for whatever system you're in. But
of course,
it works just as well.
Yeah.
Yep. And I would encourage you too that one of the things that is going to become a challenge is that you don't always have enough time with people to prepare them, and so letting somebody run their own slides is great. I mean, but in our case, a lot of the folks that come in don't have they're just not tech savvy, right? And so I'd rather get the slides in advance, maybe a day or 2 in advance, and that'll give you time to also potentially put it in the right format. So for example, if your projector is a wide projector, or your TV is wide, Zoom tends to be at 1080, it tends to be wide. So, but a lot of people, if they've been using an older version of PowerPoint, it's in a 4:3 ratio. It's in a standard television ratio. So there might be time to edit their slides to make it look better. Also, I've had folks, and it actually happened at the conference because we were getting people coming in that morning of, who put text up on the screen that it was just impossible for anybody, even in the room, to see. And so, that was a real, I mean, I we needed a 70-inch
giant monitor.
70-foot screen to be able to read the text.
And then be kind of monitoring.
The good news is the person was dynamic enough that they were able to convey all the information, but still, that's a good example of something where you might want to be in control. So you would ask all potential speakers to submit their slides to you, like I said, 2 days in advance or something like that, so you could make sure they're going to display properly. And then you could give them a clicker. I lost mine, and I had one I gave away, which I never wish I gave it away. I have since then, I use, if I need one, I actually use my iPhone as a clicker. And I carry around a bunch of Apple TVs. And I also
Yeah.
have these, that I can hook up to my laptop and my old laptop, by the way. This doesn't work on my new one, which is embarrassing.
Yeah, I always ask for the slides in advance, and
Do the same
90%
thing.
of the time they'll send them.
Yeah.
Now, sometimes they'll run it, and I like to have it just in case something happens, then I have the
That's right.
slides. And then I send a copy to another person, Juanita, in this case, in case
Yeah.
something happens to me and I don't show up. So
That's right.
then she has the slides.
Yeah, and then I'm not sure how techy we want to get, but I love these video switchers, and maybe I'll stay at the end and we can talk about that a little bit more. But
Well,
the video
tell people
switchers,
what they do.
well,
What is
the video
what is
switchers
the
allows you to
advantage
bring
of?
in. So in the case that I'm talking to you on here,
Yeah.
let me go back to, let me see, camera 2, is that what it was? Let me see, camera 2. So this switcher right here has 4 inputs. Whoop. Yeah, don't you? Well, that's preview, so it didn't switch on me, but it's got 4 inputs. It allows me to transition the cut, so I'll cut back to my camera and come back this way, right? And then for each one, you can actually have audio controls so that the source that's coming in, it's all HDMI, but the source can have audio. It also has 2 microphones built into it. Now, I'm not using the microphones here because I am using a mixer, an audio mixer that's actually going USB into the desktop.
Yeah.
And a real microphone here. Ooh, I didn't mean to touch it, sorry. And then, but the video switcher, the power of this is that every port that's coming in can actually be a different frame rate, a different resolution, coming from almost all different devices. If it has an HDMI output on it, it can come into this device. The device will actually do the scaling, so that you could actually output from it with like a 1080, 60 frames, whatever you need to send it out, depending on what you're doing. Like if you're streaming to YouTube or Facebook or something like that, or just recording it. Now, this one doesn't have the record or the streaming built in. This is the first unit that ever came out, but it does have a little picture-in-a-picture, so you can see me up here in the little corner. It does have a keyer, which I don't think I have a keyer turned on. No, I don't. I actually do green screens with it, with PowerPoint slides, and that's what the key does. So, I mean, the device, I love these things. They're great for a variety of different inputs. And then because the hardware does all the scaling, when you use the USB out from this and put it into a laptop, the computer just sees it as a webcam. It doesn't know anything different. It doesn't know that you have 4 different cameras hooked up to it. It just sees it as a simple webcam. So,
Greg, you mentioned
solution.
Green screen.
Mhm.
Green screen, yeah. Do you have any? Are there any pros and cons about using I have one. I just never use it.
That's a good point. So I'm going to blind you guys all for a second here. Let me do this real quick. Let me go back to where was I here? Desktop. Do I have it open still? Keynote. Thought I had it open.
Because we have it, but don't use it because
Here it is.
Okay.
So this is funny. If you watch one of my videos, do you see the screen here?
Yeah.
And I don't know if I can turn it on quickly or not. Let me do it at the end, maybe.
All right.
What I do is I have these videos, and the green screen, my face is right here in the middle of this green screen on this video.
Right.
And then when I go through my slides, the green screen goes blank. My little lower thirds graphic stays up, and I'm just talking on the screen, and the green screen's in front of me. And then I brought up, and this is how by the way, this was for Zoom. This is Zoom tips, talking about cameras, talking about raising up your camera. That's what this whole presentation was about. But and I have it on YouTube, so you can go look at it on YouTube. But I use green screen on this device so that I can superimpose a video graphic right here next to my head. And you probably have noticed I'm not standard center frame like you're supposed to be like this.
Right.
I'm off to the side a little bit because I normally throw graphics right here next to my head. And so that's what this slide deck actually does. Now, green screens have their place. The virtual backgrounds, like like the car behind you. It's not me.
Right.
I didn't spotlight you, but the concern I always have is that if you don't have a good contrast between you and the backdrop behind you, you will get this constant movement around your head. And that's what people complain about for Zoom fatigue. So if you, and you don't have to have a green screen to do virtual backdrops. You just get a better quality if you can put something behind you. And in some cases, like, I hate to be this way, the pale white guy does really well with a gray or a blue screen behind you even. And then you can put whatever virtual backdrop you want in front of you and you'll be fine. If you've got wispy hair, that's like one of the worst. It'll constantly be moving around your hairline.
Yeah.
If you're bald, the only thing you have to worry about is your your shine. That's about it.
That's what makeup's for, isn't it?
Yeah, there you go. That's
Yeah,
what it's-
powder stuff to kill
Yep. Yeah. So I think green screens have a great place. Like I said, I use it kind of the reverse. I use it as a way to superimpose images on the slides. Now, I wish we could have a raise of hands.
You could.
Are there a bunch of Mac people here? You're a Mac guy. It's hard to tell. The reason
Juanita
why is that
yeah.
I could show this real quick. Let me see. This is one of those things I wanted to show off. This is probably the worst. Let me go back to, I've actually embedded it already. Let me turn this on real quick. So I'm going to turn on my cell phone. I'm going to unlock it. And I actually have a video app running on it, on the screen. And so what I'll do is I'll add media, or I think I can just change this one. Live video, change it to the iPhone. Yep, I can. So connect. So with Keynote, you can actually embed a live video directly in from a camera source that you have connected to your computer. So this feature, and by the way, and it's a real object. So, obviously you can move it around on the page. You can do things like round the corners or make it a little circle in the corner. You can do all the little pretty things like give it a shadow or give it a picture frame. Actually, aren't there a bunch of different, I always forget what they are. Yeah.
For those who use Windows, Keynote is the Apple version of
PowerPoint. Yep. So there are some things that are, let's do this. Let's put that there. There we go. So there are some things that are out there that are making this world a lot better. So for example, even the idea of going through those PowerPoint slides that I use the green screen for first, potentially I could have gone through and put myself in the Keynote and then went through my slides.
Well, you only have your
So I could have done the reverse.
Oh, okay.
But they and you'll see people that'll do it sometimes where they'll put in a they'll build videos, right? They'll actually record a separate video, they'll embed it, they'll move from slide to slide, the video is auto launch, that kind of thing. But in my case, it would just be, with this new feature, just embed me into the corner of the slide. So and where that'll come in handy is, again, I think we're all getting pushed this way, that the newsletter, the flyer that you put up and all that kind of stuff, it all needs to get digitized. So it all needs video. Stop taking camera photos and start taking videos, because that is where we need to get to, so that you can hand that little video clip off to somebody so they can put it on the community newspaper's website, or embed it in somebody else's thing that's going on, just so we can get some play. And the other thing that's interesting in broadcast, if you had content like that you could distribute to something that is like some group that is doing something like a podcast or whatever, there's going to be times where they want some sort of filler and they're going to put your video in. So, there is a little bit of build it and they will come that does exist out there. but it depends on how you distribute it and where you distribute it.
And the kind of video that you
that you're
take
supporting.
and the
Yep.
production values of the video. It's, there's a lot, just shooting video, just using the microphone in your camera could
Audio is a challenge.
It is a challenge, yes.
The
It
video
is
quality of these modern
Oh,
cell
yeah, they're
phones
great.
is phenomenal. I
Yeah.
mean, let's be honest. Well, now and then that takes me to the next thing, which is we've talked about this little guy.
I have one of
So
those.
you got one too, didn't you?
I do. I
Get the
bought one, yeah.
Osmo.
I forget. It was on Amazon, whatever the cheapest thing I can find is what I got.
Well, yeah, all right. So these little devices are pretty slick. So this is the DJI, the people that make the drones. It's called an Osmo, and what it is, it's a gimbal. So it's got a little cell phone mount up here, and it will hold the camera perfectly straight, either in portrait or landscape. And as you move your hand, it will look at what your hand is pointed at, up, down, left, or right. So it takes all of that stabilization stuff out of the mix, and it is wonderful. And
it is nice.
They're about $150.
Mine was even less than that.
Expensive.
Yeah. I also use a little wireless mic that I bought for also under $100 when I do videos of Pat for the district. So right. I mic her up and then shoot the video with the, it works pretty well, I think. Juanita has a question. What do you think of live on Facebook? You mean Facebook Live, Juanita?
Yeah, live on Facebook. I told you I'm not a big fan of Facebook as a whole.
You're not, I know that.
The churches, we've got 3 that are here that I've talked to. One I deal with regularly, all the time, and they're all using Facebook because that's where the congregation is. So they don't have much of a choice. And if that's where your audience is, you've got to take the content to the audience.
Mm-hmm.
I've always had problems with Facebook Live. I have a hard time getting, it's just the quality isn't good or things aren't lining up properly. But that could be me, operator error.
Well, that's where one of these video switches comes in.
So
the next model up from the one that's sitting here, and obviously the big boy I have over there, they have built-in streaming now. So they actually have a streaming engine built in, the codecs, everything. And the drop down actually tells you Facebook or YouTube, and then you just put in the stream key. It's a big long string of characters. You put the stream key in, you hit go live, go on air. You look it up on Facebook in the studio, and there's your video. It's rolling in, and then you just got to fill in the title, fill in the description, hit go live, and it's running. It's rolling.
Well, like we raffle off a car, and you can see it in the back of Juanita's background there. Last year we advertised that I was going to have Facebook Live at the drawing, and damn it didn't work. But I got video, but I had to post it to Facebook later.
Right.
People were sending me emails. Where's the video at?
Yeah, where is it?
Where is it? I just had a lot of problems.
Well, you can imagine too that the rig that I carry around is huge.
Oh yeah, it is. Yeah, you have a lot of. Yeah, that's crazy.
That thing's ridiculous. This little guy isn't too bad. And then there's a I don't have one, and I'm probably not going to buy one. There's also a YOLO box that I might get to the point where I'm going to start recommending it, because it actually does switching like we're talking about on a little device. Was it YOLO?
Yeah.
Pro, I think it is, streams everything, and it actually has SIM card and all that stuff in it. What can I use? Oh, is it on B&H? B&H helps. Nope. Is that it? Oh, they don't have a good video of it. Well, let me bring this up. You can see my screen now. So this is a video screen. And so it takes in the, I'm trying to, if I click here, will that help? There we go. That's better. So it takes in the HDMI signals. It has USB to go out to the camera. Go out to a computer. If I recall correctly, one of these models, I think, has a SIM card in it now, which might be pushing it a little bit for our people, right? But oh, here it is. Here it is. So that's you go. So it's all in one screen. It's a touch screen, and then on this part here, like depending on what camera angle you're on, you see these are the different cameras they have hooked to it. You can click on it, and it'll switch to that camera, and then you can have graphics. It has countdown timers, things like that built into it. So it's got it's minimal, but and like I said, I think you have to get to this higher model. I'm just looking real quick to see. Yeah, you can do multiple platforms, but you have to get into their streaming service to do the multiple. There it is, SIM card. That's what I thought. So it does have, you can record to SD and record it, but it does have a SIM card slot. So you could, let's say the club has a hotspot or something like that. You can take a SIM card out of the hotspot, put it into the YOLO box, and stream directly out of that from wherever you are with just a camera, or like we have here, have an iPhone hooked up to it.
And it's something that every club can afford. $1,298.
I know at $1,300. It's
yikes.
Just, you know, pass around the hat and we'll be good.
Right.
Well, this is brand new. This hasn't been out.
It'll go down in price.
All this stuff will begin to go down. Plus, this one is the pro model that has everything in it. I think there's a lower model that I don't think it streams, but you would have to have another device like and I think on the USB on this you can tether it to your phone. I don't know that much about it. I don't have one, but I think you can tether it too, so you don't have to get the model that has the SIM card.
Yeah. Are you able to do videos on Instagram? Do you know? Or are they short videos?
Yeah, you can, and that's where some of there's a service called Restream.io that it's all these things are subscription services. Is it? Let me make sure I'm typing it in right. Yeah, so I'll put it in the chat.
Restream. Oh yeah.
Yeah, Restream is probably one of the better services that I would recommend. The idea being is that you would push to them, and then they push out to all the services, because pushing out to multiple platforms requires a lot of data push.
Yeah.
So having the ability to push to one source, keeps your bandwidth low. Not all of it like where we are. Like they had to witness it. I have to use my Starlink to actually get internet out of the building, because we don't have internet in the building. And before that, I was using my phone as a hotspot. That's the only way.
Yeah.
I used to have to put it in the window over there on the other side of the room.
In Middlesex, it doesn't have a big presence on the internet.
Well, yeah, and it's not a how do you want to put it? The motel hotel place we have practice doesn't want to invest in it either. So
no, of course,
if their clientele would push them towards having better internet, maybe they would. Okay, and I'm not paying attention to the.
Juanita has another question. Do you find Restream better than Vimeo?
So think of YouTube as a destination, Vimeo as a destination.
Yes. It's a storage area.
Facebook is a destination where the videos will go and be played and consumed. Restream, all they do is get the video to them live. So in the event that you're recording it and uploading it later, you don't need a service like this. If you ended up where you're trying to get this to lots of different people, and you've got followers and things on all different platforms, then having a Restream product makes a lot of sense.
Okay.
And again, I this goes back to, is there any way that the district might be able to get some buying power? Something like some of these things where if you've got one license X, but if you can get up to, a few different licenses, 5 or something like that, or whatever it is, they'll start cutting your deals. So
true.
I don't, and of course I'm just looking real quick as it has platform. Yeah, they don't have it listed. You'd have to call them. That's always the case, but it's software, so it's the old story. You make it once, you sell it 1 million times. So we might be able to talk them through it with some But we'd have to have a number of groups that would be willing to, put
And
forth some money
put-
for it.
put some capital in that. That may be the challenge, but I don't know. That's
Of course,
something we could.
it always is. Yeah.
So spending money on technology is always kind of a second.
Well,
we're lucky where we're at, where our club meets. We have fairly good resources because we meet at a assisted living home, which I know, but they have really good. I think, Juanita, don't you think it's a pretty good setup, or better than some restaurants anyway? I guess.
Yeah, I'd say senior retirement continuum of care.
Yeah.
And we meet in the boardroom.
So
With
they have
the
stuff.
screen and all the AV is good. I mean, there've been a couple Fridays where Curtis has had a glitch where it's not like on our end, it was
True.
with the equipment, but where we couldn't see. In fact, that happened last Friday where we
Oh.
couldn't see the PowerPoint